Hi, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Hi, Jim. We're doing this late at night, and that's why they've got this weird glow showing me right here. Jim looks good,
sure,
as normal. But, on the podcast, you're going to see that less. So we'll...
a little bit less. You can probably hear the glow, though.
Right, you can hear the glow. That's right. Let's just carry on. Let's start in the NHL this week, where a new era of league discipline was officially ushered in when Brendan Shanahan dished out the first 2 suspensions of the season. One to Calgary's Pierre-Luc Letourneau Leblond, try to say that 10 times fast, who we're told is one person, I guess, and one to Philly's Jody Shelley. But what was different about the announcements this week that we don't normally see there, Jim?
Well, it was beautiful because we saw the announcements from the horse's mouth and with an explanation as to why there was a suspension, with the rule up on the screen and the, a slowed down replay of the hit. And apparently that's something that Shanahan's going to be doing with suspensions and even maybe non-suspensions, which would be interesting because, there's been a lot of hits where you go, now, why the hell was that not a suspension when this one was? So it looks like now we're going to at least hear the thought process. Whether we agree or not, we'll at least hear the thought process of the NHL.
Yeah,
which is that's a level of transparency that I don't know if there's ever been in the NHL.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really like it, but gosh, I just wish we could get somebody with a little more, I don't know, something than Shanny.
Doesn't look like he wants to be there.
No, not at all. I love Shanny, but he is just stone in front of the camera there.
Yeah. Can we get a little production value?
Exactly.
Actually, yeah, I know a couple of guys that might be able to deliver it with a bit more.
If he wants this glow, we can help him out with that. Training camp is well underway for the league's 30 teams. Let's focus on the Oilers, though. How have they looked so far to you?
I thought there's definite, obviously there's still a lot of chemistry to be built and everything, but I think they're looking pretty solid. That Andy Sutton looks like a California redwood out there.
He's huge.
127 feet tall. Nikolai Habibulin obviously had a bit of a shaky start, but I thought Tyler Bunz looked really good in his preseason action. I think he's a definite guy to watch for the future. Dubnyk's looked pretty good. I think a lot of people have been happy with what they've seen so far from the Nuge.
Yeah.
A little shifty plays here and there. Eberle's looking good again. I think it'll be interesting to just see the end of training camp product. Who stays? Who goes? Does Hartikainen make the team? Does Anton Lander make the team over maybe Linus Omark? There's a lot of questions still, and there was a moment in I think it was the second or third preseason game, the first game after the split squad, where someone went after Taylor Hall, and who jumped in but Ryan Smith.
Ryan Smith.
I thought that was a good moment because that's kind of not necessarily what you brought him in for. You didn't bring him in to be the tough guy jumping in and fighting, but I mean the leadership qualities that the guy has. You're already seeing it in the preseason, and I think that's great for the team.
Did you see Taylor Hall, though, when the guy was, trying to fight him or whatever, and Taylor Hall's just, you can read his mouth, he's like, what? Like I'm actually going to fight you. Come on.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a do you know who I am?
Because I don't know who you are.
Exactly. Were you a first overall pick? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Let me check.
Yeah.
No.
Not so much. Still no Drew Doughty at Kings training camp. We talked about it before. He's pushing for $7 million a year and wants more years. But LA wants to give him, or wants less years, but LA wants to give him 6.8 over a longer term. What's he worth, Jim?
It's so hard to say, right? But I think anywhere between, maybe 5 and what he's asking for in 7. I don't like that they're offering him 6.8 because they don't want him to be the highest paid player on the team. They want him to be tied for first.
Yeah.
But that's not good enough. I think that's maybe not. I'd be interested to know what some of the other players think. Not that it matters what they think, but it's a team sport, and you don't want one guy to be kind of alienated for this type of thing.
Totally.
But I'd say between 5 and 7. He's a good player, and he's only going to get better, and that's the thing. you're locking him in now in the hopes that by the time, the contract's nearing its end, the guy is. I mean, he's already one of the elite defensemen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's still on the he's still on the rise, but it's you don't want to. I think it's tough to see a guy get in this kind of contract dispute so early.
Yeah, no kidding. Mike Modano retired this week. Leaves the NHL as the highest scoring U.S.-born player and probably the last of the Minnesota Stars. He signed a ceremonial one-day deal with Dallas so that he could retire as a Star, but it was worth $999,999. Ceremonial? What was going on there?
Now, here's the thing. If that was me,
yeah,
I'm kind of shady, but if that was me, it's a one-day deal worth $1 short of $1 million. Maybe my car breaks down on the way to handing in my retirement papers. What are you going to do? It's a contract, man. You can't
totally
say, I'm sorry, I signed the contract. What, are you guys reneging on our deal?
You're not going to play
I worked for you for one day. But, that's just me.
Yes, you are kind of shady.
Yeah.
In the CFL, the Esks continued their up-and-down season with a 34-21 loss at home to the Alouettes. What was the deal there?
Man, I don't know. It was another one of those games where it seems like it's every second week now, where the run game's not quite there, the offense isn't clicking maybe like it should, and eventually it all just kind of comes to a grinding halt.
Speaking of grinding halts, what about that hit Marcus Howard laid on Anthony Calvillo?
That definitely was a grinding halt for Calvillo.
No kidding.
Wow. Says it knocked him clean out.
Crazy.
And it wasn't a dirty hit or anything.
No, it's clean.
But boy, he got every pound of his being in behind that hit, and you see all those little black pebbles coming up off the ground.
That's right.
Hit the deck. But you know what? To see Adrian McPherson come in after that and engineer a pretty good drive that basically put the game out of reach. God. And Montreal's had just as up and down a season as the Eskimos have. So it seems like first in the East is going to maybe be one game over 500. First in the West, maybe one or two.
That's right.
I guess that says something about the competitive level of the league or whatever. But still, I'd like to see somebody pull away.
Let's move over to the Major Leagues of Baseball now. 2 words: Manny Ramirez. Jim, what's going on there?
Boy, oh boy. Tried to play in the Dominican League, wanted to restart his career. Can't, because he's on the MLB's inactive list for his second drug thing, which is why he retired, because he was facing a 100-game ban. So now he's asking for reinstatement, says he'll serve the ban. And, this, I kind of feel bad for the guy. He says he wasn't ready to retire, because I think he just kind of retired on a whim because it was, I don't want to serve this thing. And,
yeah,
100 games in baseball is like half the season, so it's not even that bad. But
totally.
Yeah. So you hear about it a lot with pro athletes where they're just not ready for it when when the bright lights are no longer on them and the people aren't talking about Manny being Manny.
Yeah.
So David Ortiz made a comment about it just a few days before, and he said maybe he wasn't ready to retire, and so. I hope that somebody gives him a shot, and he's 100-game suspension that he has to serve, but gives him a shot anyways. And that's the latest on him. He tried to restart his career, but the old drug thing came back to bite him in the butt.
We talked about this last week, but it's definitely worth mentioning again. Victor Ortiz has been sort of running his mouth this week, saying the Money Mayweather sucker punch was unfair. What do you make of all that?
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't the classiest thing for Mayweather to do, but let's not forget that Victor Ortiz, a prize fighter who has probably, I don't know how many fights he's been in his life, probably a lot.
Yeah.
Stood in the middle of the ring with his hands at his sides.
Come on.
Got hit, and stood in the middle of the ring with his hands at his sides for a little bit longer before he got hit again. I mean, okay, it wasn't the classiest thing, but the whole thing was weird too because they shook hands. They said, "Yeah, okay, sorry for headbutting you," because you jumped into his head.
Yeah.
Sorry for headbutting you, and then the ref said something, and then he went to go hug him again,
I don't know what that's about.
Like, you've already said sorry.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's okay. That's one is
and
enough.
Then, boom. Doesn't put his hands up. Boom. Hits the deck. I don't understand. But to say that it was unfair, like, okay. I mean, you didn't even try and protect yourself. So I feel like he took a dive for the mob or something.
Yeah,
when have you ever seen that in your life? A guy standing in the ring like,
here's my chin.
Looks at the ref. Hey ref, he hit me.
He's hit me.
Yeah, it's called boxing. It's sort of what you do. You
hit.
Even I know to cover my face. However,
when you're getting hit.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to the GABBYs now. The Yankees closer Mariano Rivera earns a good this week for picking up career save number 602, giving him the Major League Baseball record. Craziest part about this guy is that he basically uses one pitch, which is called the cutter, which, by the way, is my nickname if I was ever a boxer, which has become a thing of legends. Also, he comes out to Enter Sandman, which is pretty badass.
That is pretty bad. I love that. Yeah. I wish that I had entry music to like work, for example. Just people hear the music, go, Jeff, a good to Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo, who played most of a Week 2 overtime win with a broken rib and a punctured lung.
Wow.
You talk about tough.
I can barely go to work the next day if I've had 3 beers when I'm supposed to only have 2. You know what I mean? This guy gets a punctured lung and goes to work the next day. I'm
telling you, if I broke a rib, I would cancel the show. I can't do it. I have a broken rib, man.
That'd be
I can't sit here and talk.
No kidding. A good as well to Manchester City midfielder Owen Hargreaves. He was dropped by Man United recently after spending much of the last 3 years on the sidelines. It looked like it might be over for him, but Man City took a chance, and he scored a beauty in his first game back last week. Good on him, even if he's from Calgary.
Yeah, you can't hold that against him. I think his dad was playing pro soccer there or something, so it wasn't like a by choice thing. It's only there. If you're paid to be there, it's a little bit different.
That's all right.
But afterwards he said that he feels like Man United treated him like a guinea pig while he was there, giving him shots for all sorts of stuff, and so comes out fighting.
Yeah, good for him.
An obvious what's that?
Good for him.
Good for him indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
An obvious bad this week to the idiot who threw a banana at Phillies Wayne Simmonds in a preseason game. Shootout between the Red Wings and Flyers in London, Ontario. I'm just going to say that I hope whoever was sitting near this person let them know how stupid they are. I'm a
fairly mild-mannered guy, but even if I saw that at a game, I'd be going after the guy. Like, what are you doing? Get your head out of your butt.
Yeah, it's stupid, and good on Simmonds for the way he handled it. He kind of just said, just how it goes, and I'm not going to let it bother me, but stupid.
How about a bad to the NBA, where the lockout is starting to have an impact? Training camps have been postponed, and over 40 preseason games have been canceled. Looks like things are about to get pretty serious here. Guys should go out and play in Europe.
Yeah, better start signing those overseas deals. Exactly. And a definite bad to the NFL, where the league had to warn its players about diving.
Brutal.
A couple of New York Giants went down looking like real football players.
Yeah.
And they were trying to presumably slow down and no-huddle offense. But you see the replay, and they're just walking, and then 2 guys, like a couple of bowling pins, just hit the deck.
I'm so hurt.
Even the commentator saw it and said, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah, totally.
So the NFL having to warn players about diving and faking injuries.
Crazy.
That's sad.
We're going to move on to the punchline now when talking about Chicago's Jay Cutler during a Week 2 game. Fox Sports showed graphics on screens of, quote, actual headlines that diss Cutler, like, Cutler lacks courage. Turns out they weren't real headlines that Fox was playing. So apparently it's okay to make up the news as long as it's not current events.
Yeah, you think, okay, here's our production meeting. Yeah, so let's do this. And, none of the headlines actually back up what we're trying to portray. So let's just make some up. Yeah, okay. Should we still call them headlines? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, because
people will understand.
Yeah, it's not a big deal that it never actually happened. But the whole thing was about how he left a playoff game last year with an injury.
Yeah.
And people tore him up about it. Like, well, he's got an injury. Like,
Yeah, totally.
People gave him hell over it. And it turned out to be a legitimate injury that, But a round of applause has to go to Fox News because that's just classic.
Classic Fox News. That's absolutely beyond. Exactly. We're going to do just one quick hit here. I know we're going past time, but this is a good one. An Italian team is reportedly offering Kobe Bryant $600,000 per game to play for them, which is twice his current salary. And it seems Jim has done the math here. $200 per second. Should he take the money and run?
I would. I don't know what 15 minutes at $200 per second would be, but we'd be some rich men. I think if someone's going to offer you that kind of cash per game,
take it.
Life's too short to not take that money, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that's our 15 Minutes of Fame up for this week. Join us again next week when we get a whole new 15 Minutes of Fame. In the meantime, I am always yours, Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Have a good week, folks.